All right, come grab your seats. Come grab your seats. We're going to get started.
Oh, here are the bikes.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Grab your seats, get yourselves comfortable, settle in. My name is Eli Storch. I chair the Design Advocacy Group. It's wonderful to see so many new faces and so many of our returning champions here. So thank you all for being here to kick off our in-person program for 2025. We are working hard on our programming for this year. As you can see, we've been busy adding different types of programming and keeping our calendar full. So our website is pretty much always up to date, assuming Nika and I keep it that way. So please always check there for new stuff, because our traditional Thursday slot isn't the only place that we're doing programming, as we meet here on a Wednesday. So thank you for coming out. We are a big crowd. Ordinarily, we would go around the room. Everyone would pop up and introduce themselves. I usually give a prompt. Today would have been, what are you most excited about for 2026? So maybe chat with your neighbors about that at some point, because we have a nice full room, which is wonderful to see. So the way we typically start this off is we talk about some advocacy items and events, and if anyone in the crowd has something going on that they want to share with us, an exhibition you're a part of, something that we should know about on the advocacy side, feel free to throw your hand up at any point, and I'll call on you. You can share with the group. So that is an open invitation until we start our program. From the DAG side, I'm not sure anyone heard about this, but there's been a change in the fates with the 76ers arena. So George, I know you wanted to come up and say a few words about that to get started.
Thank you. Thank you, Eli. Yes, we got invited to a informal victory party in Chinatown last week, which was wonderful. The food was superlative, and it was not like the typical wine and cheese victory party. It was a family event, and we were all very happy to be able to participate in it. Although I don't think we can say that any one actor achieved this result, other than the billionaires. We're very happy with the result. And the consequence is that we need to talk about Market East. And I can only use the pointer on one side. And what we want to do, we don't want to get into a large discussion of Market East tonight, because we have a big program. But we want to solicit commentary, and there's the place to send us comments, ideas, dagfellow@gmail.com. But here's Market East, here's Market, and I want to point out just a couple of thought-provoking things, I hope. There are some large sites here. There's the Roundhouse, and there's a big site south of the Roundhouse. There's also like a site that's been vacant for, I don't know, 50 years over there. And there's one that's been vacant for maybe 45 years over there, the old Gimbal site. So we have big sites. We also have little sites. We have buildings that are row buildings on row building sites that are in pretty bad shape. Some of them owned by people from the Sixers. We also have there's Wanamaker's there. We have some very nice buildings that the National Development Company has developed. And as you can see in this aerial view, they look kind of ordinary. They don't stand out. But that project is probably the best template for what could happen in some parts, at least, of Market East. So I just wanted to point out that there's some diversity of issue here. And we included, of course, Chinatown in this photograph, and there's going to be work on the so-called stitch above 676. So there's a lot of project issues in this area, and we're trying to prepare a more sophisticated statement than has yet come out. I mean, the general wisdom now is, yes, we need planning on Market East, and we said that 2 years ago. But now we really need it, but we need to know what the issues are. What's the RFP for this? What do we have to solve? So please share your thoughts with us on that. And that's about all I have time to say.
Please.
Hi, I'm Ellen Samakawa from Asian Americans United and the Folk Arts Cultural Treasures Charter School, which is a K-8 charter school founded by AAU in Chinatown. I just wanted to say that on February 2nd, we're having an event called From Chinatown with Love, a No Arena Block Party, in order to show Chinatown's thanks to all of the allies and the people that came out to support the No Arena cause. We really appreciate that. There was a lot of political pressure going all around, and we appreciate groups like Design Advocacy Group who, had the courage to speak up and say what's right. So Sunday, February 2nd, 2 to 5, streets of Chinatown. Chinatown will also be celebrating Lunar New Year, so there will be lion dancing throughout Chinatown. But our event will be from 2 to 5 at 10th and Arch. All are welcome, and it's to say thank you to the city.
I attended the December 5th Planning Commission meeting. And that's where they approved all of the streets, Filbert Street closing, the bridge across 10th Street, etc. And Jesse Lawrence, who will come here in February, said that there will be master planning going on. So do you know anything about that?
The answer is master planning is a pretty broad term. And at this point, no, we don't. We are discussing it and pushing for more and pushing for better and pushing for a process. That's a lot of the advocacy that George alluded to. But right now, there isn't a clear path forward to what that will look like.
Well, we all are advocates here, and I'm thinking that we all can get in where we fit in. I will certainly be there. Welcome you all to the Planning Commission meeting. I was surprised that it was not a lot of people there. Craig Shelter was there, which I was happy. Some professionals had a little weight, behind them were there. So I welcome everybody to come to the next one. They canceled this month's meeting, so next month.
There will be a lot more on that front. And in addition to Market East and what is going on there and what will continue to go on there, we're also keeping an eye down at the Stadium District. As a steering committee, we've been connecting with Comcast Spectacor, both on an advocacy and programming standpoint. Nothing yet that we can set up and put formally on the calendar, but as soon as we can do that, we'll share that with everyone, because now there's some very motivated parties down there who hopefully will work with the city to make a really interesting project. Let's see, anybody else, anything to say? Just keeping my eyes out. Okay, so upcoming events for DAG in the coming weeks and months. We have a new program. We kicked it off in January called our Spotlight Series focusing really narrowly on one specific project. Digsaw presented their Clay Studio project, which was a really fascinating deep dive on that project, getting into all the real details, both from the design side and the organization side of how that project came together. So we have 2 of those coming up on Tuesday, February 4th at 9 in the morning. Kieran Timberlake is going to be presenting the work they're doing at 2300 Market Street. Fascinating reuse, reconstruction. There's a lot going on there with how they're putting that building together, and it's making wonderful progress. So they're going to give us a deep dive on that. And then Tuesday, March 4th, it's always going to be the first Tuesday of the month. We have a spotlight, slightly longer name, partnering to protect our commercial districts, flood mitigation, preparedness, and resilience in Manayunk and East Falls. So they're going to give us a deep dive on the factors at play there and how they work together as a community to put that plan together. In terms of other DAG monthly meetings, we do have a special event. Thank you, Judith, for teasing that. On February 11th, that's a Tuesday. Jesse Lawrence, the new Director of Planning and Development, will be here for a one-on-one. Laura Spina from our steering committee is going to lead that conversation. Again, that one's in person. All the spotlight events are on Zoom. And then also in person on February 27th, Molly Lester and Michael Bixler are going to present their book, Building Ghosts. So they're going to sell the book. They're going to give a talk, and it'll be a nice chance to hear what they're up to. It is very much a Philly focused book. So with that, let's get into it. We will have time for a Q&A at the end. So keep your, Joyce, did you have something to say before we get started?
Just to share with everyone, I'm on the selection committee, the city's environmental justice. Second year as well. It's a total of 300,000, and if you like, I'm happy to share the. Okay, I'm on the selection committee, Joyce Lee. The city's environmental justice grants have been released in January, and if you have not seen the recipients, I'm happy to share the press release with Eli. And it's a total of 300,000 for communities around the city.
Thank you, appreciate it. As you walked in and took your name tags, there were a stack of documents there. DAG, as we're getting into our program, asked everyone in the DAG community to share their ideas and their thoughts and aspirations for 2026. So those were all compiled into that file there that was printed out. So you can see all the items that have come in, and we can't get Michael to commit to all of them, but he's working on quite a few. So we certainly appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Marcia Moss from the DAG Steering Committee, who helped put tonight's wonderful program together. Yes, everything about the 2026 information can be found on our website under the Advocacy tab. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Eli. We are thrilled to welcome you all and to bring together leaders of the arts and culture community to share their ideas, their concepts, their plans for performances, for projects and programs, all to be in the Philadelphia area and to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday, and mainly to focus on Philadelphia, which is the heart of it all. So I welcome our speakers to come up. As I read their bios, you can sit anywhere you like. I'm told that Tanya is, oh, there she is. Right on the dot. Okay, Michael Numis. 16-year track record, 16-year-old, not bad. Hey, you and me. So he's a record across for-profit and not-profit sectors, including being executive director of the FS Foundation and chief of staff at Visit Philadelphia. During his tenure at Visit Philadelphia, Michael contributed to the successful execution of visionary events, including the 2017 NFL Draft, the 2016 Democratic National Convention, and the 2015 World Meeting of Families, commemorating Pope Francis' first United States visit. Michael is a passionate advocate for Philadelphia, promoting inclusive economic growth, community empowerment, and civic pride. It's not surprising that Mayor Parker chose Michael to lead the city's 2026 event. Val Gay is a creative, a certified financial planner, a nonprofit administrator, a recording and performing artist, and a thought leader. In 2024, Mayor Parker wisely appointed Val as Chief Cultural Officer for the city and Executive Director of Creative Philadelphia and a member of her cabinet. For over 20 years, Val has held leadership positions across several sectors, including Deputy Director for the Barnes Foundation, Executive Director of Art Sanctuary, Assistant Dean at the College of Art of Education at Temple, and Vice President and Portfolio Manager with PNC Advisors. Stephen Sims is the Superintendent of Independence National Historic Park. Previous assignments include Superintendent of Gettysburg National Military Park, Eisenhower National Historic Site, Valley Forge National Historic Park, and other sites. Prior to Steve's national park career, he was an engineering consultant as well as a commissioned Army engineer officer. Tanya Isaac is the curatorial director of Art Philly. Her career spans a national, international practice with published writing alongside choreography, performance, teaching for Tanya Isaac Dance. She has performed with Rennie Harris Pure Movement, Urban Bushwoman, and David Dorfman. Tanya's projects include her signature open notebooks and interactive creative research installations. Tanya is a former ACA, MANCC Urban Leaders Pew and McDowell Fellow. She recently received a Philadelphia Cultural Treasures Grant for archival publication of her performance writing. And last, Jane Golden has been the driving force of Mural Arts Philadelphia since its inception, overseeing its growth from a small city agency into the nation's largest public art program. Under her direction, Mural Arts has created over 4,000 works of transformative public art. In partnership with innovative collaborators, she has developed groundbreaking and rigorous programs that employ the power of art to transform practice and policies related to youth education, restorative justice, environmental justice, and behavioral health. I'd like now to hand the mic over to Michael Numis.
Thank you for that warm intro. It's such an honor to join this incredible group. Am I driving the presentation? I can also talk without the presentation. Well, I'll just say it's really an honor to be in this role. So many familiar faces since I first had the great prestigious honor of speaking with this group about 10 months ago, when I first joined the administration in this role. And I'm going to share with you some of the planning that's underway for what will be a really defining moment for Philadelphia. First, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. There's been a lot of conversation about different entities that are all a part of making this historic moment happen. Obviously, we know that there's a federal, a state, a local entity. And I just want you all to know that Philadelphia is working very closely with our organizing partner, Philadelphia 250, which is charged with driving the celebration out to the neighborhoods, right? Which is so important. Because from Mayor Parker's perspective, for Philadelphia to succeed in 2026, the groundbreaking aspect that we've got to get right, and we're going to get a lot of components right, right? Setting Philadelphia in the national stage, making sure that we're making smart investments that position Philadelphia and the people of it better in the next 250 years. But we want to ensure that the people of Philadelphia across neighborhoods are more than just spectators, that they are shareholders and stakeholders in driving forward a celebration that's going to be built by community, not just built by committee. So that is the charge really of Philadelphia 250. And they have a leadership transition right now. But I want you to know that in the next 48 hours, we're going to be announcing some very exciting news about the future direction of this entity and where we're going to take it to build upon the incredible work that's been laid and ensuring that it drives forward that critical mission that I just outlined. In addition to that, we're working closely with the state entities. And also, obviously, Mayor Sherrell Parker is chairing a federal initiative that's both the partnership between the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the congressionally appointed entity, America 250, that's overseeing the plans for the nation. Why is that important? Because, you know, as I've been talking with folks across the country over the past year, there's one misunderstanding that we have to remedy, that the US semi-quincentennial is not just a mid-Atlantic celebration, right? This is something impacting the entire country. And in Philadelphia, we might take that for a given, but ultimately, we've got to shift that perception abroad. And that's exactly what that America 250 Task Force is. It's encouraging cities across the country to really lean in and participate. So now I'm really going to focus on what this means for Philadelphia. Across departments of the city of Philadelphia is the government, police, fire, labor, commerce, parks and rec. It's all hands on deck. So much work is undertaken. Our top priority as we're thinking about a year-long events is really public safety, to make sure that individuals can experience what will come of us as safely as possible. The amount of resources that are being invested in public safety cannot be understated. We're working closely with every state agency you can imagine. Federal agencies, our governor is going to be leaning in pretty significantly. But readiness for this for us is also about some capital improvements. You may have read about some Market Street expansions, right? Historic district areas where we're going to be welcoming a lot of tourists. But a lot of work is happening underway. I'm not sure if this group's aware, so I'm just going to briefly give you a quick overview of what 2026 looks like. So it really starts in June. Our superintendent is an Army veteran, so thank you for your service, sir. We're going to kick off with the birthday of the U.S. Army. And then in October, we have an incredible event, something that's going to be really, from the federal perspective, kind of like a lead into the opening ceremony for the entire nation. It's the 250th birthday of the United States Navy and Marines. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. And then in 2026, we're going to have an incredible slate of opportunities. Some of these partners are here today, including Art Philly. Some of them are not, but just know that there's a pretty robust slate of activities. And when you look at this, except for the flower show, which is an asterisk, a lot of these are events that are happening because of 2026. But layer on to that all of the events that would traditionally happen in Philadelphia every year, as well as the amazing holidays that we have. And you've got a pretty robust calendar. I just want to point out a few of the activations because a lot of this is made possible by incredible work across partners. You know, when I was aboard the USS Gerald Ford recently, which is the most advanced naval aircraft carrier in the world, as a guest of our Secretary of the Navy, and you get to meet these 19-year-old men and women who are aboard this vessel for 210 days, right? And you're talking to them. And by the way, they've been out to shore for 210 days, working all night, looking at these missiles and reporting back. And then they're extending it by another 3 months, right? When Hamas attacked Israel, that became an extension. And these people with such faithful excellence remain on this ship and do the duties of protecting our country. In October, for so many of them, they'll be returning to friendly soil, sometimes for the first time in many, many months. So Admiral Gumbleton, who's responsible for all of our Indo-Pacific operation said to me, so Michael, when you see these men and women meandering across Philadelphia looking for the best cheesesteak in the world, for God's sakes, buy them the damn cheesesteak. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna be doing a lot of great stuff to roll out the red carpet, but there'll be Blue Angel flyovers. There'll be 8 different naval aircraft carriers, some at the Delaware, some at the Navy Yard. It's gonna be epic. We'll have incredible ceremonies. We've got the producer of the Super Bowl halftime show driving forward some of this work. It's gonna be amazing. Philadelphia is really gonna kick off all of this with a celebration unparalleled. We're changing the location. I won't announce where, but our New Year's celebration is more than just a celebration. It's also kind of a marketing ploy. Imagine a drone show that really outlines and showcases all that's happening for the year ahead. We're also going to be investing heavily in business attraction efforts, right? Investments that will help to position us better for the future. That's exactly what we're going to see with this World Trade Center. We'll be working with the chambers of commerce, including the diverse chambers, to make sure that we can leverage this moment to get investors to really familiarize themselves with all the greatness of Philadelphia. And we'll be working with partners like the Welcoming Center and others to make sure that everyone feels included, including our immigrant populations, with some communal dinners that will be taking place in areas of high immigration concentration. We'll also be working with our incredible partners like the Visitor Center, and I see some of our colleagues here, to make sure that whomever is visiting or a resident can really get out and explore some of the cultural and historic attractions. You know, one of the lessons from the papal visit was that transportation was the biggest barrier to having economic activity dispersed across the county. So we'll literally have vehicles in place to help folks get out and explore. And does anyone here know Martha Snyder or know that name? Ed Snyder, maybe? Okay, so Martha's late ex-husband, Ed, but Martha's really the driving force of that family. She is the reason, I say that with an asterisk, they're all amazing, but she's the reason why we have Rocky's statue at the Art Museum. She was really the driving force between that couple of that decision. She's driving forward this We 250 festival, which is going to bring together a lot of individuals, but also showcase us. And she was also one of the reasons that Philadelphia now has a portal installed, which increased tourism in the Flatiron District by over 50% when it was here. For Philadelphia as a city, commercial corridors are going to be a major investment that we'll be announcing fairly shortly, working with the Commerce Department. We've got a 3-tiered approach because we'll be pouring water across every councilmanic district with at least 20 targeted neighborhood corridors across 3 things, right? Investments in the physical landscape, investments in the digital. You know, if you have a restaurant in Philadelphia and you want to track well on Google, you need at least 40 solid images. I didn't know that. Well, I did, only through my World Visit Philadelphia. But now you've got to invest, right? So we're making these investments, we're providing these free services, and then we're going to retool Philadelphia 250 to activate those civic commons. We'll also be partnering with the state on an incredible art initiative where we'll have commemorative bells, right? Across Pennsylvania's 67 counties, you'll be seeing these bells installed, 1 in each county, except for Philadelphia. We're going to have over 20. And although all these bells will be installed before 2026, by December 31st, 2025, Philadelphia's will be unveiled on the grand ceremony on January 16th, 2026, when our state announces all their 250th planning right here at the grand ceremony. It's going to be really beautiful. And these will be a part of a major grant opportunity that the city will be announcing soon that will help institutions, small and large, really smaller institutions, artists, community-driven groups apply for funding so that they have an idea in their community that they can drive it forward with funding from the city, which is pretty exciting. These are not real, so don't pay so much attention to the logos or to the design, but just know as part of our investment across neighborhoods, we're going to be doing some beautification schemes, including consistent banners, you know, empty storefronts. And this is on top of Mayor Parker's commitment to clean and green, right? We've made significant investments in this budget around just that, and we're going to be doubling down on it with some beautification, which I'm really excited about. We'll also be working across partner organizations like BOMA and others to drive forward some celebratory themes across the city. But I want to just talk about how we get all this done, right? Funding. We've benefited from having a really strong philanthropic sector here in Philadelphia that have raised a sum of money, but we know that we need more. And I'm really excited that the Parker administration has prepared a very robust budget proposal that we'll be transmitting shortly to council that is going to be significantly higher than what you see here. And it's going to help a lot of our partner institutions, some of them are here to drive forward their robust planning, right? But on top of that, we're providing significant dollars for marketing, for operational expenses, for partners that are seeking to drive forward celebrations. And I'm really excited for those funds to be announced and dispersed. We've also asked the state to make a significant match. Now, the state dollars are really for public safety because, I mean, does anyone know meridian barriers? No. Well, I mean, they're really sophisticated tools. They're really expensive. Fleets, you can't imagine how much energy has gone into security. You know, earlier this week, yeah, it's just really remarkable. That's been the biggest game changer. But the economic impact of all this is so significant. So this week, you will be hearing a major announcement about Philadelphia 250, a very exciting direction. And I believe this week, you'll also start to hear the first tranche of some of the funding that will be transmitted through council approval. And with that, yeah, that's my summary. So pass over to my colleague.
Thank you, Michael. My iPad is like my security blanket. Hi, everyone. I am Val Gay. I'm super excited to be here with you. I have the great privilege of serving as the Chief Cultural Officer for the City of Philadelphia. And I'm going to talk really quickly because I promised Eli that when he saw my slides. I was like, don't worry, I'm going to talk fast. But I really wanted to let you all know about what we're doing as we get into our esteemed colleagues and the rest of the presentation, but to really let you know what's going on with Creative Philadelphia, formerly the Office of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy, OACCE. But you're welcome, we changed our name to Creative Philadelphia. And to situate you, if you're standing at the corner, the intersection of Market and like right where City Hall is, and you see the Dunkin', everybody know where the Dunkin' Donuts is? So if you're standing in front of the Dunkin' Donuts and you look straight ahead, those are our windows. So if you walk by, you just wave to us. So I love this slide because it really shows Mayor Parker's commitment to the arts and culture sector. And one of the things that I really just want to call out really quickly is that she talks about we will have a dashboard that lists every arts and culture organization that is funded by the City of Philadelphia according to genre and/or medium or a zip code. In addition, the neighborhood-based organizations will be essential, and we will make sure that what is happening in town is readily available in neighborhoods as well. And that is some of our marching orders to bring the city closer together and to kind of blur the lines between in town, if you will, and neighborhoods. We, over the last, I got here, I was appointed in March. I think I started in April. And immediately I said to the team, literally first day, we're going to change our name and we need to do something about our mission. Our mission statement at the time was about 69 to 73 words, depending on which version. So we got it down. It's still a lot, but we got it down. But we really are here to serve the public and particularly thinking about economic opportunities for the creative sector and for our city writ large. One of my personal missions is to eradicate the starving artist narrative because it's just not cute anymore. It was never cute. I'm an opera singer, and so when you think about like La Boheme, you have to, use the cognitive dissonance of like usually the very heavy tenor who's supposed to be starving, right? It's not cute. And so our vision also is Creative Philadelphia envisions a safer, cleaner, and greener city where creatives thrive both socially and economically, and arts and culture enriches the lives of all of us. So it's all of us together. These are our values. And it was important for us to articulate our values. The office has always been operating, at least the office most recently operating under these values, but we had never articulated them. And we found that it is really important for us to do so and to say out loud who we are and who we serve. Our internal partner is Mural Arts. We're so excited. In the 40-year history, Mural Arts is now part of the Creative Philadelphia portfolio. And as I like to call them, our cousins. So my cousin Jane over there, super excited to work with them. And just to give you an insight of what some of the works that we do. So we have exhibitions. Exhibitions, we have Art in City Hall, floors 1 through 5 in the Northeast corridor of the quadrant of City Hall, as well as our Art in City Hall gallery is back, which is great. This exhibition that's currently there is in support of the UArts community, the former UArts community. This show will come down on Friday. Today is Wednesday, so 2 more days. And then we're going to go dark for a little bit because we're doing some renovations and really improving the gallery, but then we'll be back. We are really, I want to bedazzle the entire City Hall and using this canvas as an amazing exhibition space. So imagine that we will have permanent galleries in each of the floors with rotating exhibitions. And we're working on that, as well as enlivening the Art in City Hall program with performances also. If you're going to come and visit us, come between 10 and 4 on Mondays through Fridays, or hit me up and I may be able to get you in on a different time in room 116 on the first floor in the northeast corner. Public art is really important for us. And the work that we do is about conservation. There are over 1,000 public works that Creative Philadelphia stewards, and that includes monuments, statues, memorials, all throughout the entire city. And so our conservation is constant, and we're going to be kind of launching kind of Friends of the Statues or Friends of Art around the city, because as you've probably gone around and you see people, this audience a little bit keener is, well, a lot more keener than the average Philadelphian. But if you just observe what people do when they walk by public art, the first time is like, wow. And by the third time, it's as if it's that pillar in the middle of the floor here. It's like an obstacle that you go around. And we want to reactivate into people's minds the art that is around them all the time. I actually call it visual white noise. And that we want to make sure that folks are really seeing the relevance of the art and how it is enlivening their lives. We also do a lot of community engagement. Whenever we release a call for artists, it is steeped in community engagement and making sure that we have the input of the public. And that I should also say Percent for Art is one of our programs. There are 2% for Arts programs. There's a public, there's a private side. We do the public side. And we have a lot of calls for artists that will be rolling out shortly. And then finally, this is for public art. This is really exciting. I've sat on, before taking this role, I've sat, as many of you have, sat on a number of public art commissions and selection committees. And it's always been a little painful in my heart to see the dearth of Philadelphia-based artists who are responding to these calls or who are actually receiving the commissions. And, you know, we realize that we have a number of barriers, but there are opportunities for us to fill in those gaps for those artists who would otherwise who have the talent, but perhaps not necessarily the experience or even, I'll just leave it at experience. And so we started a program called Public Art, How to Start. And so as a way to get emerging artists in Philadelphia particularly to move into public art, not just in Philadelphia. Our goal is we want to have more Philadelphia-based artists do public art, but also to move them out into the world. Ms. Judith asked about planning earlier. I'm really grateful because we will be launching something called the Cultural Plan Exploration Tour starting in March. And it's going to be 12 gatherings, 12 town hall style gatherings, one in each councilmatic district, one citywide for young people, teens through early 20s, and one citywide for creatives. This is really important for us because we will be, through this work, working on our first ever cultural plan, which we have committed to delivering to the city of Philadelphia in spring of 2026. It is a tall order for us, and it's going to require all of us. So stay tuned for more information about it. We would love to have you and everyone that is connected to you to come out to these meetings to let us know what is happening. Through this, we're going to be asset mapping, finding out at the hyperlocal level. Michael's great map that showed all the things that are happening in 2026. We've been working together, and we will be actually adding to that map, particularly at the hyperlocal level of the things that are happening in 2026, but also arts and culture activities that are happening again at the hyperlocal level. We will also, through this, be creating an innovation and ideation prize. And so we will be curating one idea from each of those districts, plus an idea from our teens. We will then match those, pair those ideas around one of the 3 pillars: safer, cleaner, greener. And that is important. It's not just like a political kind of thing. It's not just a mayor's priority. It is my subversive way of saying to Philadelphia, arts and culture, it needs to be embedded in everything that we do. If you think an issue is important in Philadelphia, you need to be thinking about us too, and that we are embedded in that. We are not an ancillary kind of activity that is a nice to have. We are essential. And so these ideas will be paired. We will offer innovation prizes, and then finally bring them together, surround them with an incubator with the goal of creating new products and/or programs that will be activated throughout the city. So this time next year, we will be rolling out 6 new programs, 5 pairs plus the youth, in 12 different sites around the city. And these programs and ideas will come from us, by us. Again, as another way of connecting and linking the importance of what we do with everyone else's lives. And so please feel free to go to our calendar, phila.gov/arts, and you can submit if you have activities. We have Arts Access TV. We regularly get bumped by City Council because it's technically their TV station. And wait, what's your name again? Ellen. During like the whole arena thing, we were constantly getting bumped, but now hopefully we get bumped less. So feel free to submit some activities to us for Arts Access TV, as well as an opportunity to see resources available for us. Folks are really populating this, and so we want to share this with our community. And finally, that's my team. We're so excited, and our team is growing, but this is who we are right here. This photo was taken right after the mayor declared the return to work order. And they said, well, any department that wants to have basically a class photo, you can come. And so we had our class photo, and we're really excited to serve all of you. And so I'm really grateful and honored to be here. And I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Sims.
All right, that's me. Well, good evening. All right, so I'm going to talk about the National Parks of Philadelphia. And for some of you, that might be a new term or terminology because it's commonly referred to as Independence National Historical Park. But I'm going to give you a little bit more insight as to why. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the National Park Service, our 4 national park units here in Philadelphia, talk about A250, what we have planned, some related capital projects, and then talk about partnerships. So first, National Park Service mission. I think it's important just to tell everybody what it is, because you may not know. So our mission is to preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. And so we really have a mission that's in tension. So we have preservation and protection mission of preserving these historic resources in perpetuity, but also providing for the visitor enjoyment. So if you can think of Independence Hall and the 3 to 4 million people that walk through there every year, that takes a toll on these historic facilities. So we need to strike that balance of preservation and protection and access to park resources. The second part of our mission, which I don't know a lot of people know about, but we are also required to cooperate with partners to extend the benefits of natural and cultural resource conservation, and outdoor recreation throughout this country and the world. So we have a mission to work with others and work in community. And I think that's a really powerful thing. So we have, like I said, 4 national park units in Philadelphia. You're all very familiar with Independence National Historical Park, but we also have Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site to honor Edgar Allan Poe and at his home, his complex over there on Spring Garden, where he lived during his most prolific period. Gloria Day Old Swedes National Historic Site. So we provide a dignified landscape setting for Gloria Day Church. The church is privately owned, but we own the property around it. And so we work cooperatively with the church in their mission. And then Thaddeus Kosciuszko National Memorial honors Kosciuszko as a great Polish patriot and hero of the American Revolution by preserving and interpreting the Philadelphia house where he lived, which, fun fact, is the smallest national park unit in the park system. So of these 4 national parks, we have 55 acres of land that we're responsible for, 48 buildings, 5 of which are National Historic Landmarks, 1 World Heritage Site, 12 miles of trails, 5 million artifacts and archives, 900 permits per year, so special event permits, wedding photography permits, which is actually a bulk of these permits, very popular for people, especially around the Merchants Exchange. Wedding photography permits are amazing. And then in 2023, we had about 3 million visitors, and it's slowly ticking up from the pandemic years. So I can only imagine 2026 what that number might be. And the park system has here in Philadelphia about $323 million economic output to the local area. Staffing. So 239 staff members, 197 which are permanent, 42 are temporary, $199 million in deferred maintenance. So we have a lot of deferred maintenance that we aren't getting to, which you may see in the park. So if you see something you don't like, it's probably part of that number, to be honest. We have a budget of $27 million. And I think the interesting fun fact about the budget is if you look at it over the last 15 years, if you account for inflation, we have a 12% decline in our budget. And our staffing levels have decreased 14% over the last 15 years. So on to more positive news. With the A250 coming up, our mission is to celebrate, commemorate, and contemplate the meaning of the Declaration of Independence. So it doesn't mean the same thing to all people. And so we want to make sure that we provide space for conversation so that people can find relevance in this anniversary date and can find connection. National parks are all about connection and connecting people to their national parks, your national parks. And I think that's a really important thing that people realize that these spaces, they belong to you. I'm just the steward, but they belong to you. And we want to have excellent facilities. So in alignment with the mayor's priorities, we want to be clean, green, and well-maintained when we welcome all the visitors in 2026, including the citizens of Philadelphia. And we want to rely on the power of partnership. So where the Park Service resources end, we want to make up that gap through partnership and working with others. So 250th anniversary is an opportunity to pause, reflect on our nation's past, and to honor the contributions of all Americans. So we'll definitely talk about Ben Franklin, George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. We'll talk about them. But we also want to talk about Ona Judge, an enslaved maid at the President's House site, or Robert Hemings, who was enslaved to Thomas Jefferson. And if you can imagine in the Declaration House at 7th and Market, if you can imagine that Robert Hemings was probably standing right there in the same room as Thomas Jefferson is penning the words, "All men are created equal." So those kinds of stories and conversations that we just want to provoke thought and having you connect with these spaces. And then we want to look ahead towards the future that we want to create for the next generation and beyond. So capital projects. So we have a few that I think you'll be interested in. The first here is the Benjamin Rush Garden, located at the corner of 3rd and Walnut. This garden now hosts, or the centerpiece of this garden is now the bicentennial bell. So this bell was removed from the old bell tower of the old visitor center at 3rd and Chestnut in 2013. So when the Museum of the American Revolution moved in to construct it, the bell went into storage. And it's taken us until July 13th of this past year to reinstall that bell in this garden. And that bell was actually donated to the United States of America by Queen Elizabeth on July 4th, 1776. So really excited to have this bell as a centerpiece. If you haven't been there lately, well, you probably shouldn't have been because it's very icy and cold. But when it's warm, it's a very lovely, beautiful space. And I want to thank the Independence Historical Trust in assisting us with making that rehabilitation possible. The first bank in the United States, I don't know when it was opened last. Does anybody remember when that building was last open to the public? It's been decades, a very long time. Well, we have a $30 million project funded by the Great American Outdoor Act to rehabilitate the first bank, and it is scheduled to open in early 2026. And so we're looking forward to that. We're working with the Independence Historical Trust to help us with the exhibits and exhibit installation, which won't be done by 2026, but that's okay. We've got other plans, and I think this space just being open to the public for its architecture, its purpose as, this place where we can talk about the start of our financial system, which really is built on the backs of slavery. So we can have those conversations in a space like this. West Wing rehabilitation. So this is the building to the west of Independence Hall. It is currently known as the Great Essentials Exhibit. And so we're going to rehabilitate the building, rehabilitate the exhibit, and display the artifacts of the Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, Constitution of the United States, as well as the Sing inkstand, which was used to sign all of these documents. We really want people to reflect on the meaning of these documents and how it might be relevant to them today. This one's very exciting for any engineers in the audience. So this is our energy improvement project, $15 million project to reduce our energy consumption, reduce our carbon footprint. So if you've been around the park lately and seen fencing and trenching, that's what that project is. So it's kind of messy out there right now, but ultimately making our systems more efficient and having these systems more efficient, more dependable will actually help us preserve our historic buildings. And before I get to that, because I had some conversations before we started, I know there's probably a couple other projects that people are interested in, and one is Welcome Park. Welcome Park, we just restarted the design effort this past December with the intent of producing at least three alternatives to present to the public for comment and input so that we can narrow it down to a preferred alternative with community involvement. So that project is moving forward. We are continuing to work with our affiliated nations, our indigenous nations. And so that's a very exciting, very important project with lots of storytelling space right there in Welcome Park. So very excited about that one. And then City Tavern, everyone's favorite, those of you that are Walter Stabe fans. City Tavern, we're currently in conversations with a potential lessee. It won't be open by 2026, more than likely, maybe, but we'll see how quickly they move. But we're in that negotiation process to get the City Tavern reactivated. So annual events, Michael went through a whole bunch, and so we have a lot of events that happen every year. So when it comes to the Declaration of Independence, what I like to say is we commemorate that every day. That's our job here in the National Park Service. So, but 2026 is going to be extra special. But every January, and we just had the event this past Monday, MLK's birthday, and the National Bell ringing. If you've never attended that event in the Liberty Bell Center for that National Bell ring, I highly suggest you go next year. In February, we commemorate Lincoln and Washington's birthday. April, Arbor Day, of course, and Washington Square is known as the National Arboretum. Memorial Day in May. As Michael mentioned, the Army's birthday this June is going to be quite spectacular, and it falls in the same day as Flag Day, so we'll have an event right there in front of Independence Hall. In July, very busy, as you can well imagine, with Freedom Week, but we also have, working with the Historic District partners, the Red, White, and Blue to do on July 2nd. And in 2026, they're currently working on a program called the 52 Weeks of Firsts. So I want to thank the Historic District partners and the 2026 committee, because they are putting that together and bringing the partners together to make these things happen. September, Constitution Day, and then Washington's farewell. And for those of you that are familiar with Washington's farewell, apparently he ran up quite the bar tab at City Tavern. So we celebrate that every year. And then I can't say enough about partnerships. And here's an incomplete list of all the partners that we work with. And the success of the National Park System relies on partnerships. And a few examples over the last year is that we've reopened the cafe across the way from the visitor center, the Liberty Garden. So I want to thank the Philadelphia Visitor Center Corporation for that. Also with the Philadelphia Visitor Center Corporation Independence Historic Trust, we now have movies on the mall. So this last year, we actually had National Treasure on the mall. And if you can imagine sitting there on a summer evening watching National Treasure and you see Independence Hall and the real Independence Hall at the same time, which that's a photo of. I mean, it is quite spectacular. And then working with the Historic Philadelphia Incorporated with their storytellers, I mean, they can do things that the Park Service can't do, and they are a fantastic partner here on park grounds and in other parks and other areas as well. And here's a photo from the Red, White, and Blue To-Do. Just a tremendous parade from the National Constitution Center down Independence Mall. Take a left on Chestnut. We ended up at Carpenter's Hall. See Mr. Norris back there with quite the celebration. The ending is still in flux, but certainly planning on doing this again. Just a fantastic time. Lots of involvement by the community, very diverse groups, music. It's a great time. So keep your ear out for this one. And then I want to end with this quote, which I think really summarizes the philosophy of the National Park Service. And this is from Theodore Roosevelt, where he says, "We have fallen heirs to the most glorious heritage people ever received. And each one must do his part if we wish to show the nation is worthy of its good fortune." And I think it's a really good charge for all of us as we look forward to 2026 of what's our part in this anniversary event. So with that, thank you. I'll hand it on. Are we doing questions? We'll put it on the calendar. Happens every year. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Tania, as Marcia introduced earlier, and I am the curatorial director with Art Philly, which means that I work with at least 17 other artists and curators and cultural leaders across the city in bringing projects and proposals to us so that we can create what is for us an inaugural festival that will launch in May of 2026. We are going, it's a 6-week citywide multidisciplinary festival that will run from Memorial Day through to July 4th. We are a little bit of the new kid on the block, so I will give you some of our background just to get us oriented to where we are. Sorry, let me get my clicker together. I started with Art Philly. I've been with them for about 1.5 years now. It was the brainchild of Kathy Sachs and Bill Adair, who have been working with a steering committee. One of the members is right here with us, Jane Golden, of executive directors and cultural leaders across the city, based on the idea that Philadelphia deserves and should have a platform for the breadth and the depth of the artistic talent, for the artists who continue to choose to live and work here, based on the idea of what the texture is of what it is they do in Philly, the creative energy behind it, this idea of a commitment to a creative research and a creative process and practice, and really wanting to be embedded in their own discovery and not necessarily chasing something else that they see outside. So Kathy and Bill have created with the steering committee Art Philly, and Art Philly is its own entity. We are interested in running programming that goes through the year in addition to producing the festival. The festival itself, we are hoping to be a triennial festival, so it will continue to happen every 3 years, and in between we will be working with our partners on programming. Our vision, as you've probably read by now, is to establish Philly as a globally recognized arts and culture destination, celebrate the vibrant creative communities and diverse artistic expressions, and inspire and engage people from all walks of life.
And this was developed in conjunction with the artist and with the steering committee. Our mission is to amplify Philadelphia's creative voices by commissioning, presenting, and promoting arts of all kinds for local audiences in the world. The things that we've discovered, the primary thing we've discovered in working with these curatorial collaborators, which is the name we use for the artists who are bringing us work, is that there is so much that we don't know about what's happening in the city continuously. There are so many artists doing incredible work, some of which is on a tiny scale because that is the intention of the work that they do, and some of which is on a massive scale. There are so many artists who present work outside of Philadelphia, but aren't produced in the city itself. There are a lot of artists who have moved, who would like to be in Philadelphia, but in order to sustain their artistic practice, have to move and leave the city, but are still deeply connected to the work that they do here and to the other artists here. So we are hoping to create a platform and a process and a system and enough collaborations that we can support this breadth of work and have Philadelphia discover what is in our city and also bring people in nationally through the suburbs and internationally, eventually we hope to keep sustaining. We embrace the revolutionary spirit of Philly. We look at the layer and the scales of what it is we're trying to see. We chose 2026 as a particular platform because of the visibility of this moment, because of the people who will be coming through. We are partnering with Visit Philly as another leg of the festival, this arts and culture leg, in addition to the individual artists and projects that we'll be promoting and producing. We're also going to be working in partnership with other organizations, some of which will be producing their own events, and that we hopefully will have come under the umbrella of arts and culture so that we can promote more broadly for all of it and connecting to everything else that's happening in the city. And again, this comes back to, this is one of our sayings that we use within our meetings, that we use when we have conversations with people. And I think that we sort of got from all of the other presenters here today, we really don't even know what we have, and the opportunity to connect with each other and to reframe our perspective. I keep saying we're always limited by what we know and who we know, and to keep reaching beyond that, to figure out what it is that we have to offer to each other and to the wider community. So this takes us to the festival itself. As Superintendent Sims was saying, this anniversary means very different things to many different people, depending on your point of entry, depending on your history, your relationships, your interactions. And so in inviting artists to participate in the festival, we wanted to leave it open for them to come in at their own points of intersection, which is how we came up with What Now 2026. And this invitation, since as you see here, a lot has changed since 1776, and we're asking artists to bring to us what it is they imagine, what it is they imagine this country could be, what it is they imagine the history could be. Some of them are bringing us a retelling of the history, a reimagination of what it is that we think we know of the history, a reweaving of the kinds of history that we experience, the kinds of history that are available to us. And we see it as a major collaborative moment. We are working with organizations that are not necessarily natural partners. We're working with historical organizations, artists, really leaning into this idea of creative research and a creative practice, and of people who want to keep moving ideas forward. So we are thinking of how we embody this. Philadelphia is a texture. And we're thinking of what it is to live and be and create in Philadelphia. Some of our major collaborators are WXPN, WRTI, the Museum of the American Revolution, which will be partnering with us in bringing Black Music City into the museum. So we will actually have musicians coming into the museum, being in residence for a minimum of a 6-month period of time and producing music or sound based on what they experience within the museum and in their conversations and interactions with the museum staff. And the idea there is not just to have what we know of as an artist in residence program, but to also give the museum an opportunity to see how they could design differently based on the artist's creative process and their questions. So the idea is to create an exchange. We are working with the Mann Center, Anna DeVere Smith, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, with Philadanco and Ballet X, First Person Arts and Mural Arts, among many, many others. With the Anna DeVere Smith project, we, in conversation with her, we discovered that she had an ancestor in Gettysburg, Basil Biggs, and she was interested in working with us to excavate his history and to write a new play that will be produced and performed in Philadelphia based on the history of her family and how that may or may not have been interwoven with the history of African Americans in Philadelphia, in the Pennsylvania, and across the country over time, and looking to the idea of how it might tie into also Native American histories. So really embracing the idea of digging through and this idea of Smiths to create an American voice out of individual histories. The Martha Graham Company, in collaboration with Penn Live Arts, is going to be working with us in a close collaboration with Philadanco, which we are really excited about. It's one of those moments we talk about where Philadanco sells out in New York regularly. They tour internationally. There's probably more written about Philadanco internationally than there is in the city. And we really want to try to shift that. And that's a big focus for us at Art Philly. So based on Martha Graham in 1938 choreographed Our Own American Document, Tommy Wahid Evans, who's the resident choreographer at Philadanco, is going to be working with dancers from both companies to create a new piece that's going to be performed at Penn Live Arts. Colette Fu is going to be working with Dave Q to create one of her pop-up books. And speaking of all of the conversation around Chinatown, this actually began as an archive of sorts when we weren't sure exactly how things were going to go. It was an archive of places that felt sacred and places that felt that they needed to be commemorated in Chinatown. And Colette creates life-size pop-up books. If you've never seen her work, please go online and find it. There are videos, we couldn't get it to animate in here. There are videos that show how these pieces, the scale of them and how they unfold and open. The crank that she will be using is a reference to Smith's invention of the iron chink. So again, we're looking at artists and supporting work that really connects to the sense of history and the sense of innovation and the sense of research that goes into a lot of the practice that happens here. We were fortunate enough to be in conversation with Homer Jackson before he passed away. And this was a proposal that came from him in collaboration with V. Shane Smith for something called Pepper Pot. And I'll go through here. Live performance of musicians inspired by American folk, blues, Afro-Caribbean music, poetry and prose, large-scale donations of historic and unsung chefs. A lot of our projects, and I can't possibly mention all of them here, we have over 34 commissions that will be presented over this time period from May through to July. Include this sense of multidisciplinarity. So a lot of them come with food. A lot of them come with performance and visual art. A lot of them come with artists having conversations about what their practice means and what it means to be in community and what it means to connect and have conversation and figure out how we can be sort of mutually beneficial and how our individual narratives can make a bigger and a better story. We are also looking for this idea of reaching across the city that I think everyone has mentioned. Our curators were selected for the breadth of coverage across the city. So we looked at artistic, geographic, career, just the range of things that could form more and more diversity, recognizing that we're not going to be able to cover the entire city. We're not going to be able to present every fantastic artist or project, but really looking for that sense of where is the art being made, who's making it, what are their references, what are their backgrounds, what are the kinds of topics they're interested in, and the aesthetic in which they're interested in presenting those topics. So along those lines, we are looking at having several hubs across the city that will be both creative spaces, so where performances will be happening, but also that are just spaces to enjoy, engage, relax. There'll be food, there'll be music. We are also looking into creating some small libraries. The idea that, following the idea that we aren't going to be able to represent everyone, but that most people have artifacts of their practice. They have books, they have photographs. So really, even if you're not seeing an artist in performance, if you go to one of our hubs, you will likely see the work of other artists that are happening across the city and get a sense of the breadth of this immersion of creative practice in Philadelphia. Right now, we are in conversation with folks about hubs in Southwest Philly, potentially Bartram Gardens. We have a lot of projects that have been proposed to happen in Bartram Gardens, so that provides sort of one central location. We are talking to a few artists in Germantown with the idea of creating a collection of places that would be hubs in Germantown. It's an interesting solution, like speaking of transportation, an interesting solution for how we move people from one place to another within a hub or across the hubs throughout the city. We are definitely going to have a center city hub. We're still trying to figure out where that would be. And in South Philly, with that density, we're trying to figure out what would create that same sensibility that we're looking for. Last year, we had a soft rollout of Art Philly at an event called Sketch, where we invited some of our funders, some of our artists, our curatorial collaborators, steering committees, folks who had been supportive over the last 2 years while the idea was still in development. And we invited some of our artists to perform and to present their proposals and to have some discussion about what they were. One of the things that we really loved was over lunch, we posed a few questions to the attendees and had them sit together, a little bit of problem solving. And we do have a really lovely final report out of these. We were asking questions about where art happens, where they would like to see art happens, the spaces where they find ease and rest and relaxation. Some of those were green spaces not related to art, but we're really looking at places where people find ease and inspiration and trying to pull all of those threads together. And if you have any curiosities, you can go to the website. I'm going to be sitting up here again, and we will talk afterwards. Thank you very much. I came here tonight a little bit on short notice, and I really appreciate the attention. Again, it's really about creating this platform for the art and the artists and seeing how we tie it into this notion of who we are as Philadelphia and celebrating that as opposed to trying to create a model based on what other cities do. So, thank you.
Okay, everyone, it's time to talk about murals and other things. Okay, so, hi, so great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So mural art sits at the nexus of the public, the private, the social, the civic, and the aesthetic. We think that our responsibility is to stretch art really far, and when we think we've gone far, we should actually go further, because we believe that art has a tremendous, profound impact on people's lives. So tonight, I'm going to show you a few examples of things we're doing in 2026. It's really exciting. We're like challenging ourselves. And then I'm going to add a few other things that we're doing, because it's like there's no end to what we're doing. Okay, so we're doing a big project with the World Cup. We planned this several years ago, and this will be created by lots of people. The people who are commissioning us really love what we did, connected to the Pope's visit, because we worked with 19 parishes around the region, and we worked at the convention center with the World Meeting. So actually, there's this beautiful mural of 11th and Thompson. You should go see it sometime. 7,000 people worked on that. And it's in the Guinness Book of World Records. They came with Patty Annabelle, which was really cute. Anyways, they want this painted by a lot of people, so we're going to be painting this throughout the state in 7 cities, and there'll be paint days throughout the city of Philadelphia. And then this will be the mural by Niall Livingston. This is just a very rough design. It's going to be much bigger and beautiful. It will be in Southwest Philadelphia. So we're very excited about that because we love when our projects are inclusive, because we want as many people to experience art as possible. And then we're doing this project called Printmaking by the People. And think about the print as sort of something really powerful, connected to broadsides during the Revolutionary War. And I think I'm drawn to prints because like when I was coming up as a muralist, like I always looked at the art during the WPA. And I thought, oh, it's so interesting, like that merging of art and politics. And so we decided, because at mural arts, looks like we're called mural arts, but we work in a very multidisciplinary. We work theater, photographers, printmakers, honestly, and I'm glad with the murals, and I'm a painter, I love painters, but the sky's the limit. And we employ 250 artists every year. Give a round of applause. Anyway, for this, we're going to be working, we hope, in almost every library branch. And we're going to be printmaking and giving people a prompt about democracy. What is democracy today? And it's going to be educational, it's going to be inspirational, it's going to be about advocacy, and we already have a whole lineup of fantastic printmakers who are going to be working with us, and many printmaking organizations, from teeny organizations to large, because we love partnering. And then we are going to take those prints and we're going to have a major exhibition in the main branch of the 3 libraries. And then there's more. We're going to hire a band RFQ, and we're going to find a team, of public artists who will cull through all this information and create a masterful work of public art that will be a lasting tribute to this time in Philadelphia and in our country. Because a lot of the fabulous work that will be done will be somewhat temporal, but this will be something that will last. And so it will be workshops, the exhibition, and then a work of public art. And we will be in the historic district. Oh yeah, everybody, you should look for walls. I'm a wall hunter, please look for walls. If you find one, call Mural Arts. I know when you were looking at Market Street, I was thinking, oh, 9th and Market, that wall, I love it. Okay, I digress. Okay, and then we've been working with the Center for Black Digital Research for a number of years. If you go to 4th and Washington, you're going to see a series of beautiful murals about the color conventions. And you know, the sad thing about the history that we learned when we're coming up is how much is missing. And so through this center, we learned about the color conventions as being the forerunner of NAACP. And so there's a series of murals about past activism and activism today. And we have bonded so much because I know I'm biased, but one of the things I love about public art and murals is the way they keep our history alive. And Judith Robinson, we just did a beautiful mural about Henry Tanner. You should see it. It's a 29th office. It is stunning. Because think about it. But if you go up to that mural, it takes your breath away.
Welcome, you all. Welcome.
Welcome. The artist actually went to the Metropolitan Museum and painted at her town. And so when you look at that mural, the color is so resonant. It's gorgeous. And so I think that the murals are like the autobiography of the city of Philadelphia. So we're going to be doing this wonderful mural about Frances Ellen Locken Harper. And Frances Harper was an abolitionist and a poet. And I just want to say all the things that she was, because she was so amazing. She was a pioneering writer. She was an abolitionist, a suffragist, a poet, a novelist, and a lecturer. And so this is going to commemorate the 200th anniversary of her birth. And it will be a focal point for commemorating her advocacy for the widening of civil and voting rights during celebrations of the nation's 250th anniversary. Yay. And we're looking for a location near the Betsy Ross House. So again, wall hunters, please look. And so this is going to be just really a very important piece, and we're really excited about this. Oh, and also, we're going to be working with a team of poets throughout the city to celebrate this wonderful person's life. Okay, now moving right along. We're also working with artist Karen Olivier. Yay! We have, thanks to the Foreman Arts Initiative, we have an artist in residency program in city government. And you can say, Jane Golden, do you work in city government? And I would say, yes. But if you look at LA, New York, Minneapolis, they have these great artist residency programs where the people burrow into these departments and do great work. So several years ago, we worked with SEPTA. This year, we're working with the Office of Immigrant Affairs. Thank you to the Visitor Center. We're going to be doing something great. Keep your eyes open in the spring. So it's amazing. And then with Kara Olivier, she had this dream. She wanted to work with a free library. So she's going to be doing something extraordinary. Her work is amazing. We worked with her for Monument Lab, and she took this war memorial at Burnham Park in Germantown, and she wrapped it with a material that was like a mirror. So instead of seeing the war memorial, you saw yourself. It was extraordinarily moving. First, people were like, we don't want that. And people were like, we love it. It can't go away. And I'm like, that's why I love public art. People can change. Okay, again. And now this is super exciting. As if I think anything isn't exciting. I just wake up and I'm excited, clearly. So we're working with a really wonderful artist, Wanda Ramundi Ortiz, and Gwendolyn Dubois Shaw is our curator. And we got a grant from PCAH. We're really excited. And so this is all about Puerto Rican identity. And so we're going to have a major procession through the city. So Wanda will be working with groups in Norris Square for a year leading up to this. So people are going to be making costumes and art making and all kinds of wonderful things connected to this procession. And the performance is going to go from Independence Mall up through Spring Garden, because that's very important. Because when people came to this country, they came to Spring Garden, and then they were priced out and they went to Norris Square. And Norris Square is very sort of sentimental for me, because back in the day when we worked with the Anti-Graffiti Network, it was one of the first locations we worked at. And the women there were so amazing. And they created extraordinary gardens, and we did murals. And when we met Iris Brown, she said, you know what I get from the city? And she said in Spanish, the tail of the cow. And we were like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. And we bonded. And so this reunites us with our heroes from Norris Square. And it will be just this incredible procession of that identity and respect. And I'm really looking forward to it. And Wanda's work is really just so creative and full of spirit and wonder and magic. And then, ta-da, Michael Loomis. Okay, everybody. Sometimes when you're on 76 or 95, you see graffiti, right? It's annoying. And everybody calls me and says, it's annoying. And I'm like, great. But what can we do? So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do Gateway Project. It's so exciting. I'm losing my voice. Anyway, it's because we want people to see all the wonder and brilliance and talent of artists in the city, so that different works of art, and sometimes we'll just see beautiful subtle color. And sometimes, if PennDOT lets us, we had a good call with them today. They have a mural policy now. Thank you, PennDOT. Only took a number of years, but city change can happen. We'll have light. And that's so exciting. And Val and I, it's so great to work with you. We are always brainstorming. And so this is a dream come true, because we have driven those highways so many times. And guess what? We're going to sort of think about back to the day when we were graffiti writers. We're going to actually work with some of the people writing the walls and get them involved in creating beauty in the city. And so visitors who are coming here will just see all of these beautiful things. And we'll say, yay, because we're Philadelphia and we have this large public art program and we hire artists and value artists and put them at the center of everything. Gateways, I'm so excited. Okay, and the People's Budget. The People's Budget is this program that we do every year. And it's about how people can help create the budget. And we use artists to talk about the budget, to do applications and residencies. And we even have a little office in Love Park, and you can come visit us this spring. See, it's like a container that we've turned into something. We're going to have a symposium in the spring of 2026. And then finally, this is the Sistine Chapel for us. Flow Lab. This is a floating laboratory performance art space. It is designed by Mijin Yu, who was the Dean of Architecture. She was the head of the architecture department at MIT. She's now the Dean of Architecture at Burnham. There's nothing like this. This is giant. During the day, young people and it's partial dark. So love that. So during the day, kids are going to study the environment, the river. There's going to be a mussel hatchery there. All kinds of environmental educational programs. It's our dream that every child in Southwest Philly will have field trips here. It'll be absolutely a tool for learning. By night, it becomes a performing art space or a point of meditation on the river. You know, I used to think that our work was confined to an object, the mural. And then many years ago, we started to think, what is the future of muralism? What is muralism in the 21st century? And then we started to open our doors to different ways of working, because this is about merging art and community and valuing the artist's voice when it relates to so many issues. And I want to tell you that our goal is to always hold on to innovation and creativity, because when it comes to intractable, complicated issues that cities everywhere face, our traditional interventions will fail us. But what doesn't fail us is the power of artists and ultimately, so thank you so much.
So I think and this is off. I think I don't know if we're out of time, Eli, where are we? What are we doing?
Jelani has never kicked us out, so I think we can take a few
Okay,
questions.
perfect. Awesome. That was so awesome. I should tell you, cousin Jane and I, whenever we do a mural dedication, can we do it? Let's do it. Okay, you've been sitting for a while. Stand up, please. It's class participation. So Jane and I have come up with something called the Mural Arts Jump. We'll demonstrate it for you, and then we want you to do it, because to bring joy back into our lives about public art. So this is what it looks like. Woo! 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 Your turn. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Woo! 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 That was awesome. Yay. It's so awesome. So you heard so much, a lot of details about what's going on. We had one question. I'm wearing contacts, I still can't see. Jack, thank you for asking the first and only question so far. When you asked it before about, I think you asked Steve. But we have time for questions. Eli is gonna run for us. Few questions, any questions, anyone? Yes.
Hi, I have a question for the superintendent. That nerdy engineering project that's been going on for a while, when is that scheduled to be finished?
Yes. Keep in mind, this is a federal contract.
Okay.
It should finish before 2026. So I think the original schedule was maybe late fall of 25. The energy improvement project, I assume that's what you're asking
So
about.
is it going to be blocked off as for the summer?
Parts of
well,
the park will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the trenching across the Liberty Bell block should be concluded. So as we head into the spring, that fence should come down, new grass and everything should go into that space. The trenching that's going across Signers Garden to Second Bank will probably last a little bit longer. And
Okay.
then we also have some space behind the Walnut Street buildings
Mhm.
of the park as well. So those are like the 3 main trenching areas.
And we have a lot of tour guides here. Is the bathroom going to be completed?
The most important question.
So the intent is to have the 5th and Chestnut Street restroom open this year. And so it's the first thing visitors ask about, where are the restrooms? And we keep sending them over to the visitor center and they're probably tired of us. But yes, 5th and Chestnut Street restroom should be open as soon as that project concludes, because there's some work inside that restroom. We should get it cleaned up and it should be open. Yes. Yeah, I don't have a date on that, but hopefully this spring, as soon as that work on Liberty Bell block is done, I'm hoping that'll be open then.
So for anybody else planning for 2026, bathrooms are important.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay. Any other questions?
As sort of a follow-up, what about the Declaration House, Tully Dodd's house, William Wright House? Are the new hall, are any of those going to be open for 2026?
No, that's the short answer. So the Declaration House are about $12 million short, and we're probably staffing short as well. So the intent for the Declaration House is want to try to at least spruce up the exterior and have some new waysides there so that people can still come to the Declaration House and be in the place where it happened for the writing of the declaration. New Hall, we hope to have it open for a brief while to accommodate the anniversary of the Navy and the Marine Corps. So we'll have that open then. So we'll make some special accommodation for that. But Bishop White, Dolly Todd, we don't have the staffing to open it.
We will have a brand new historic marker if all things goes well, just a few blocks from the Declaration House at Miss Dolly's boarding house, which is where Gouverneur Morris wrote the iconic words, "We the people." And a lot of research has just been uncovered through a coalition to understand that not only was this house run by an abolitionist Quaker, but they actually hired a free Black man. And the research is now looking to see, was Henry Stewart in the room where it happened, when those iconic words were written? But we're looking to share those incredible stories in that same vicinity.
So you had a calendar of events. What will the Park Service be doing for National Freedom Day, which is February 1st, first day of Black History Month for 2026? And just for like energy efficiency, like are there any plans to put solar panels on the IVC and the Liberty Bell Center? It makes sense. It just makes sense.
So for Black History Month, to be determined. Definitely be doing something on social media and other things. I'm not quite sure about the programming yet. I'll have to talk with my interpretive team to see what they have planned. But they do like to commemorate those months to make sure that we tell those stories that are relevant to the months that we're celebrating. As far as solar panels go, we actually have a project in the works for what we call photovoltaics on top of the Liberty Bell Center to take advantage of that. We also have a project to install a bird film, if you will, on the Liberty Bell Center, and we want to work with the Visitor Center Corporation and the National Constitution Center as well to install bird film on those buildings, because we have a lot of bird deaths because it's a migratory area, and we're also working with Philly Bird Safe on that, and also lighting at night. So yeah, people probably don't realize that we have migratory birds through Philadelphia. It's a story that needs to be told.
So other than coming to events like tonight, how are you, this is sort of you, Michael, but how are you working to develop some sort of clearinghouse so that everybody can find out about all of this, so that folks can, through all the different channels that they go to learn about what's going on in 2026, really understand all these little pieces, because there's so many wonderful little projects in the works.
Yeah, although we have a very clear understanding of some of the tentpole, some of the major events, when we surveyed partners last year, a lot of them were still not certain, but they're getting greater clarity, and that clarity is going to only increase with the funding that the city is about to inject and announce. But there will be a website with a full calendar events that'll include a lot of the work that Val Gay's right now serving a lot of the art institutions. We'll also have neighborhood specific activations as part of that Philadelphia 250 announcement that I teased. And it'll all be consolidated into one part. And you should expect that by the end of Q1 of 2025, and in advance of June, which is when we start really with the birthday of the Army, and coinciding with that brand new branding campaign.
All right, well, let's give these guys.
Just one second.
Oh, yes.
I think the arts organizations are also starting to talk to each other more about what the different events are and how we're planning. So we are hoping to have more collaborative and cooperative calendars so that people aren't lost in sort of the maze of what's happening and end up doing nothing.
Well, we are at your service. So whenever that is unveiled, please come back to us at DAG and represent that forum so that everybody can know all about that. Let's give these folks a really warm welcome, or a warm thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it. So next up, February 4th, we'll be on Zoom. February 11th, we'll be back here talking. The 27th, we got all sorts of stuff, but February 4th on Zoom, February 11th back here in person. Thank you guys for coming.
I can't stand the place. Now it's gone. I can't stand it's creeping up. Time is nothing more. You wake me up when the dawn's falling. Wake me up. Time is nothing more. dawn's gone, I will sleep no more. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I just want to go. Mi amor no tiene esperanza, aún se esperará. Mi corazón se avanza, un fantasma ocurre. Mi amor no tiene esperanza, aunque te vas. Este viejo no se cansa, siempre te persigará. Ve, amor, no necesita esperanza. Ve, amor. Pero amor no grita mi marcha alrededor de ti. Pero amor mosquito tan así fue un amor así. Pero amor no quita esperanza. Pero amor. Mi amor no me hablo paja, aunque es la verdad. Mi amor no trabaja para que tú puedas descansar. Sí, mi amor no necesita esperanza. Ven, amor, ven, amor, mira, alrededor de ti. Down, turn the radio down. Listen to the band by the band. Honey, I hold your hand. Your eyes are tired. I like you when you talk down, turn the radio down. I like you when you talk down, turn the radio down. When you speak, I might barely listen to you. I knew you, my God. Sleep in the back of my car. I like you when you talk down. I like you when you talk down. When you speak, I might barely listen to you. Hallelujah, my God. We don't start get up in my car. I like you when you talk down. I like you when you talk down. Put on this fair, and you lean back in your chair, and you turn it down. I got 50 miles. I like you when you Top down, turn the radio down. I look you in. Top down, turn the radio. Every little kiss on the breast, girl, you blush and ask you. Questions about your past, I look you in. Top down, turn the radio down. I look you in. Top down, turn the radio down. Would you speak? I might bend to listen to you. I look you. God, let's sleep in the back of my car. I look you in. Top down, look you in. Top down. Speak, I might bend to listen to you. I look you in. Get up in my car. I look you in. Top down, look you in. Top down. Cut me like I think of you. You stay. Tell me if you're right, do you feel charmed? Far away, far away. If you can stay, you stay. You stay. Tell you the truth, I like these girls on the loose. Put up with you, babe. Some things I won't take. Don't think me false. Yeah, that turns me off. If I ask, would you say I'm the fearless girl, be open? You're making me so high now. From everything I ever want, you're keeping me so dry now. Everything I never want. Trying to get me to do things you want me to do. Don't even sit down and talk. Already know what you are. Music on the floor, but it ain't from me. Go to the place that I'd rather be. You keep trying to explain to me. So many ways you could say to me. You're making me so high now. For everything I do. You're keeping me so dry now. For everything I do. Whatever I want, it's gonna be alright. What you do, is making me mad. Baby, don't do that. Baby, you're so bad. Did you say it now? Let me know, baby. So in it for you. You should have stayed up. So in it for you, baby. Did you say it now? Let me know, baby. So in it for you. You should have stayed up. So in it for you, baby.
Jazz is for ordinary people. Jazz is ordinary people. Every time that we move, everybody hates it. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. What is our support? Answer probably is, what is our support? I don't know, probably, I would like it into those people that throw grades to somebody playing on her. Or is it going to be no? That's one of my, you know, yeah.